what kind of pain and suffering are they going through, which is holding them back from living the life which feels real and true and authentic to themselves, where they can break free from their fears and their limiting desires to actually live the life that they want. And this sent me down this path where I was able to understand that more fully and more deeply, to understand the human experience. And this is really what I'm reflecting in my work now, this sort of knowledge that I've acquired and this insight that I like to reflect back into the world so that people can understand themselves on a higher level, and to show up in a way which feels more in line with connection, to recognize that we are all one. The more I began to evolve as a filmmaker and as a human being, as I moved through my own journey, I began to really start to question, like, why is it that people aren't choosing to live a life that feels more aligned with themselves? You know, like, why is it that we are choosing to live these lives where we feel like there is little meaning, you know, through the work that we do specifically? And, you know, this question started to inspire a new direction in my work, where I wanted to start looking at, you know, like what is causing this pain, what is causing this suffering. And one of the films I worked on, a film called Chasing the Present, really I had the opportunity to spend 5 years looking at the root cause of suffering, looking closely at why is it that there's so much anxiety and depression in the world, you know, even for those that have everything. And through going down this path, this new path, I started to look at my own life and look at the parts of myself which were buried within the shadows, which were causing discomfort in my own life, discomfort that I thought was normal and necessary. And as I started to go down this path, I started to unravel these different aspects of myself that were no longer serving me. The parts of myself that were limiting my experience as a human being. Throughout our life, you know, we're born into this culture, into a family, into a religion, into a system, into a nation. And that collective shapes who we become. You know, we inherit all of these different ideals and beliefs about the world and how we're supposed to show up. And for some of us, we kind of see that way of living is just not for us. And it's not necessarily a rebellion act. It's just like being able to observe and watch the world and decide whether or not that world out there aligns with who we are, and whether or not it feels authentic to the way in which we want to live our life. Through this process, I started to really look at the ego, this sort of feeling that this part of ourself which is completely driven by more, by being better, by being seen. And somehow we've been led to believe that the way in which this happens is by having more stuff, which is just silly. Once we get that thing, once that desire is being fulfilled, it slowly falls away and we end up sort of back in this place of desire where we need something else. So the desires that we get in the outside world are short-lived. They never really bring true happiness. And it's not saying that we don't need money. We all need money. Money is super important. Our whole system is driven by the money in our pockets. If we want to have families, if we want to have experiences, the stuff costs. So I'm not saying that money isn't important. Money is very important. But the intention behind why we want to make money is what changes everything. So throughout my experience and throughout my own journey, I've looked for where happiness exists. You know, where can we really find it, where it's more sustainable? And throughout the making of this film, we looked at the root cause of suffering, and we're looking at different ways to transcend this pain and the suffering. And we went east, so we started to look into meditative practices and yogic practices, and then we went west to the Amazon, and we spent time in shamanic traditions, experimenting with plant medicines. And all of these things lead you to the same place, which is the part of ourselves which is completely free, which is free from the changing aspects of reality. There's a part of ourselves which is looking through the life force, the life source, which is at the root of all experience. And without going into it too far, it's really recognizing that that little thought that we've always had, that we're all one, is an undeniable truth. And when we recognize the oneness within everything, it changes the way in which we operate. It changes the way in which we show up in the world. If you can recognize the truth of that we are one, whatever it is that you do, it can be filled with purpose. You don't have to be directly doing anything that kind of shows that your purpose is changing the world, but it's more the intention behind how you do things. So whether you're an artist or a filmmaker or a postman or a chef, whatever it is that you do, if that intention is behind it, that knowledge that we're all one, the way in which you move into the world, it's driven by that knowing. And we offer a higher service to the world that exists around us. So everything that we do from a place of gratitude for this beautiful human experience. And this is what I'm trying to do with my work. It's my goal. My goal is, the intention behind my work is to reflect the way in which I see the world, which has been completely crafted by the sort of knowledge that we are one, we're all connected. And I believe that my purpose is to share that through the films that I make, the stories that I tell. I feel like we've had a pretty difficult few years, and there's a lot of disconnection in the world, and I think a lot of us are looking for a community, a space where we can feel like ourselves, and a positive space where we can connect and share, the more beautiful aspects of life. And that's my intention for this channel. I'm always going to be a student of this world, completely fascinated in understanding life and every facet of it. And the more I feel like I understand about the world, the less I feel like I know, because that's kind of hard to explain. And I think the best place to be in this world is as a student, and to constantly be learning and growing, because I don't think there's ever a place that we get to in life where we're done. We're like, I'm done. I know everything. I'm like sorted, done. But to rather think about life as a continuous process of growth. And if we continue to grow, what else could we ask for?